On today's episode, I have compiled 50 ways to make your home look more expensive. And this is not about being bougie or keeping up with the Joneses. This is really about making your home shine, making it be its best, because our homes are really our havens. And when we love them, we feel good in them. And that is really the most important thing. So some of these ideas are simple, some of these are more involved, but hopefully you can glean some ideas that are timeless and don't go along with the trends, but really fit into your personal lifestyle. So sit back, relax, enjoy the episode. So let's get started on our first one, and that is ignore the design trend videos. Now, I love to watch these videos. They're so fun and entertaining, but take them for what they are, just informational. What I recommend is decorating with timeless design in mind, or decorating in a style that you absolutely love, because all these fads will come and go and you are the one who has to live with it. Now, a few years ago, gray was all the rage. Paint your walls gray. You had kind of gray on the floors, gray everywhere, gray on the cabinets, and now they're saying gray is out. A few years ago, they were saying boho was all the rage. You needed to have boho style. Now they're saying boho is out. So what I suggest is going for a more timeless and classic approach in whatever design style that is. If you like modern, go for the things that have stood the test of time. If you like transitional, go with those elements. So for example, white kitchen cabinets. Now, they kind of come and go a little bit here and there, but overall, they have stood the test of time. So you know that if you go with that route, you're gonna be okay. If you like a dark mahogany cabinet, those are good as well. But ultimately, find a style that you love. And so when styles come and go, it doesn't really matter because you're happy in your home, and that's ultimately the best way. Just go with a style that you love. Now, there are some things that you can do to kind of be timeless, which is picking furniture pieces that are neutral in color and style with clean lines, simple lines, and then bringing in some of those trendy things through pillows and accessories, things that are not like super expensive. So if you want to kind of bring in what's trendy right now, do it in the smaller areas and not in the big scale things, not in permanent features like flooring. Now, chevron walls like 10 years ago were all the rage. They were like super popular, super fun, and then they went out. But the thing was, is most of those were painted on, so you can just paint right over it and it's not a big deal. But if you did like chevron floors or something like that, then that would be a little bit more challenging. So find ways to bring in some of those trendy things that you are loving and liking without doing on your big ticket items. If you are out of style, that's going to cheapen your home. But if you do timeless choices, that's going to elevate your home, make it look expensive, luxurious, and there you go. I hope that helps you. So for our next point, it kind of ties into what we were just discussing about fads and styles, and that is hardware. Now, this could be twofold. You could either have just builder grade hardware, and to make your home look expensive, you can elevate the hardware by nicer hardware. It's very simple to switch that out, and it really does elevate a kitchen or a bathroom. It's the jewelry of the room. So switching out some of those hardware items is pretty simple to do, can really elevate the look. And you know, brass hardware has come and gone. It's in right now. So if you want to put that on, then you can. But in a few years, brass will probably be out and it will be back to pewter or black or whatever. And so that is just a simple way to elevate the look of a room. If you don't have hardware on your cabinets, definitely add some hardware. It will elevate the look of your room and you'll be happy you did that. So I hope that helps you. If you want to make your home look more expensive, then neutralize your color scheme. Now, bold colors are super fun and I've used them in my house before. I've done the lime greens and like fun punchy colors, and that is good. If you really want to elevate your space, then you're going to want to neutralize your decor. But in general, if you neutralize your decor and use very muted tones, like in my bedroom here, I've used taupes and creams and whites and a little soft green, and it really elevated the look in here. And that kind of leads into my next point, and they're kind of like tied together a little bit. So what do you do for interest if you are neutralizing everything? You do it through adding texture, interesting patterns, add some smooth elements like a linen next to some knitted elements, next to a velvet, next to some hard surfaces. You want to mix and match things. You don't want everything to be matchy-matchy, and so when you add a lot of textures from metals to woods to fabrics to woven things, it's going to add the interest that you're looking for and make the whole space feel a little bit more elevated. So if you really do want to make your home feel more expensive and you own the home, then I always recommend adding some architectural interest. This could be feature walls with batten board or picture box molding. Adding molding, you can never go wrong. And it is easier to do than you would think. So in my home, for example, downstairs, I had a crazy ikat chevron wall. It was out of style. I wanted to do something a little bit more elevated. So what I did is I covered up the textured walls with some masonite. It's kind of the easiest way to smooth out a wall without having to replaster it. So very simply and easily, you can put some of this very thin plywood that's very smooth, paints up beautifully, over the wall, and then I proceeded to add some board and bat floor to ceiling. Very simple to do. This is straight cuts, and the money that you save doing it yourself can help you buy like maybe a used saw if you don't have one. These kind of things where you're adding architectural interest really do add value to your home, and so it is totally worth it. You can never go wrong. The big thing is you just want to make sure that you finish it out really well. Make sure the difference between like a finished look and an unfinished comes to how well you do the detailing, and that will be separate it from looking like a DIY job and a professional job, which will ultimately elevate your home. Maybe you don't have time, you can hire it out, it still will elevate your home. This next one might push you a little bit, but I'm gonna offer you some alternative ideas. There is something about having a fireplace that elevates the home and makes it look more expensive. If you already have a fireplace in there, there's ways to elevate it even more, especially if it's just very builder grade. Again, adding some more molding, building it out, making an overmantel. I actually do have planned to add onto this. This is a little portable fireplace that I built on this channel and I showed you how to do. It really made my bedroom just elevate and make it look more expensive. Having said that, it doesn't look totally built in, so I thought I would do a portable overmantel. So there's that idea. A couple of years ago, after wanting a real built-in fireplace my whole life, I decided to take matters into my own hands and build it myself. And I did it 100% myself just to show that it could be done. I'd never built a fireplace before, but I just got out of my own way and got really brave and set my mind to it, and it turned out great. And so I framed it out, I trimmed it out. It took a lot of time, but I saved a ton of money doing this myself, thousands and thousands of dollars. It took my living room from totally builder grade, standard, boring, to a very high-end finished look, and I did it myself. Now, this might be intimidating to you, and I don't want to do that. Start where you are at. I've actually gone on Facebook Marketplace and found beautiful fireplaces, that like electric fireplaces that are ready to go. Some of them just need a little bit of makeover, maybe a little paint and maybe a little bit of extra trim would really elevate the look, and you could have the feel of a fireplace. There's lots of ideas. Not everybody needs to have a fireplace. Maybe you don't even like fireplaces, but there is something that elevates a home like a fireplace. It brings a lot of warmth, a lot of personality. So I'm just trying to get your wheels spinning here on how you could make that happen if you don't have one, or if you do have one, how to elevate what you have. Okay, so while I have talked about not following design trends or whatever, it is important to follow certain design principles. This is one you probably heard of, and it is hanging your curtains correctly. It's worth repeating just because I see it broken all the time. You want to hang your curtains high and wide. And I did a whole video on this. It was like an old video, the music's on, it's too loud, but the principles in the video are really important. So you'll just kind of have to ignore the music a little bit. But you want to basically line the inner part of your panel right here, see, as you can see, with the outer corner of your window. So that should kind of just barely cup around that. And usually it's about 8 to 10 inches away from your actual window. In my video, I give the exact dimensions. And then about 2 to 3 inches from your ceiling. That way it really lifts and elevates the room, makes it look taller, makes the window look bigger, and all of those good things. In some cases, I have not done it in this case just because it's kind of a smaller window. It didn't need to be done. If you have a larger scale window, you will probably want to double the amount of panels on either side. If it looks too kind of narrow and skinny, it just doesn't make sense for the window. So you want it nice and full. And so just high and wide, try to line the outside of the window with that. I think it looks really nice to put a sheer over there. I just think it adds a softness to it. I like it for light control and privacy. Try to find panels that has like a solid color. That I think will stand the test of time a little bit better. I am guilty of breaking some of these ideas as well. And you know, sometimes it takes time and money and you just hit project one at a time. And so in some areas of your house, it might not be as elevated as other areas. And so just do it over time. When you have the time, when you have the money, implement some of these ideas. That's how I approach it. If you want your home to feel more expensive, you really need to be cognizant of smell. So does it smell clean? Does it smell fresh? Are there pet odors? I mean, I potty trained a dog, so like I really feel you on this. And the types of scents that you use. If your home smells very clean, very fresh, that's gonna just by default make it feel more expensive. And that's why it's so important, like when you go to sell a house, why they say make it smell good, because that equals money in people's brains. It's a very simple concept. Just keep that in mind. I like to burn candles. I also have some really yummy plugins. But if you're looking for something a little bit more natural, this scent by Mrs. Meyer's, it's the peony scent. It smells so expensive, so nice, wonderful. I love it. But I also love anything that smells like food. So pick a scent that generally people like. Be careful about some that might be on the fringe. Not everybody likes pine scented stuff. You're safe going with kind of like a floral scent or a food scent. And I think that you'll be just fine if you do that. One thing that I have done to elevate the equity and elevate the feeling of expensiveness in each of my homes that we have owned, I have always added a backsplash. So this is simpler than you might think if you can get brave and powerful. I have a video on here that kind of walks you through how to do it. And I did it the traditional way, but there are tools out there now that make it even more simple. You can do the muscle bound peel and stick backing for the backer, which I'm totally gonna try one of these days, maybe on my next backsplash. It's so simple. It simplifies it, takes a lot of the mess out of it, makes it go quicker. And adding a backsplash really does elevate your kitchen. You can do the traditional tile, but you could also do like pressed tin, or you could do wood trim, whether that's like beadboard or something like that. I'm all about the DIY ones, obviously, because this is a DIY channel. But adding some sort of backsplash, it does. It elevates the kitchen, makes it look more expensive, so keep that in mind. And again, echoing my sentiments from the beginning of this video, try to not go super trendy. A few years ago, those little square glass tiles were all the rage, and now they're not. So try to pick elements that have stood the test of times, like a Carrara marble, something a little bit more classic in color, nothing too wild or too crazy. I even pushed the envelope in what I did in my kitchen downstairs, the white trellis with the gold trim. I think it's gonna be fine timeless wise. I selected it to kind of go with the granite that was already existing. I think we're okay there, but you know, that was a little bit of a risk. So if you're nervous about that, pick something that looked good 20 years ago and is hot again today, and you'll probably be safe. But it does, it really elevates the look and makes it look more expensive. Another idea to make your home look more expensive is adding built-ins wherever you can. Now, it sounds intimidating. It's less intimidating than you would actually think. I've seen a lot of people take IKEA Billy bookcases and hack them, make them look built in. Those are fairly simple to assemble. So you're taking something that somebody has already constructed, making them built in into your home. I know that I have taken an IKEA closet and made that look built in my entryway. I've also built them from scratch using plywood and screws, and I learned a lot by doing that. In my living room, I put some cabinets on either side that were prefabbed cabinets from Lowe's, and I built those in, put a little top on it, and I've got like these built-in cabinets and then some open shelving. So just how can you add value by just getting brave, getting a friend who maybe has a little bit of experience working together. This next set of ideas came from a recent visit I had to my very dear friend Leah Bolden from C. Drill. She bought what she calls an ugly house and she's fixing it up, and she had me come over to give her some ideas on how to elevate it, and so that's what I did. I will link her channel below if you want to follow her along on her journey of renovating this home, but these are some of the ideas that I gave to her. So we are inside Leah's new purchased home. It needs some work, I'm not gonna lie. First of all, let's just talk about the paint. It is kind of a not so pretty mauve color. So Leah loves mid-century modern, and I think that that would tend to go to like more of a fresher, more neutralized palette. One of the ways to make your home look a little bit more expensive and nicer is to have a more neutralized palette. When you pick very specific like paint palettes, then you're kind of married to that. The way you can bring in some of those fun colors is through accessories and little accents and not the whole wall. So you're just going to want to make sure you have a neutralized palette. There is a way to do kind of a more moody, dramatic theme. For the most part, light and bright, neutral on the walls at least. And I would suggest neutral in the furnitures, but that's another point. You know, if you want to have a couple of accent walls here or take a moody approach, you have to be very careful about the color selection and how you do this, because not all colors are created equal on accent walls and trying to elevate the look of your home. So just keep that in mind when you're selecting paint colors. Creams, neutrals, grays. Timeless looks really do include beiges, tans, whites, and lots of the variations of the whites, because there's warm whites and cool whites and all of that. So keep that in mind when you're doing color selections. Try to find colors that are not too trendy, and so hopefully that helps you a little bit. One of my other ideas of elevating a look of a home is upgrading, and this is pretty simple to do, right, Leah? Upgrading the outlets?
Yes, absolutely.
So what I'm thinking is you switch these out to something a little more contemporary, maybe square instead of this, and get rid of the almond color. And the same for this, but also adding like USB ports, because in today's day and age, USB ports, you need them. Right?
Gotta have them, that's right.
If you're doing a whole house, do the whole house. But if you're just doing one room at a time, maybe just replace the outlets as you go into something that's a little bit more up to date and modern. If you've got ivory from, you know, the 1980s that is yellowing, that is actually a pretty good DIY. That's a really easy switch and something I would highly recommend if you're not comfortable with that. That is an easy job for an electrician as well. So they come in and switch it out and maybe just do it one room at a time, or if you're able to do it all at once, I would definitely look into that. Just make sure that everything is up to code and safe while you're doing that. If your home is on the dated spectrum, or if you feel like it's dated, take it one project at a time. You don't have to tackle it all at once, and there's no written rule there that says you have to do it all at once and dump a lot of money. Just do it one project at a time. As you have the time, as you have the funds, there's no reason to go into debt for any of this. Because her home she's approaching it as kind of like a flip, or, you know, a project house, definitely. I don't know what her long-term plans are, but there are a lot of projects, and she intentionally bought it that way. So one of the things that I would recommend to her, as well as any of you who have wallpaper, is to consider removing it, especially if there's like patches, like in in one of her bathrooms, there was like a repair, and like you could tell where the wallpaper had been cut and reapplied. It was a little odd. And then just dated, very dated wallpaper. See, wallpaper is gonna date. Like even the wallpaper that I've got in my one room, it will eventually date. But the beautiful thing about this new wallpaper is that it's totally removable. You need to keep that in mind when you're doing wallpaper right now, is that it might be trendy right now, but it is not a timeless approach. But little accents of wallpaper here and there are okay. In fact, I bought a condo once and it was full of wallpaper. It had been owned by somebody who smoked, so the wallpaper really does absorb the odors and all of that. And the only way to get that smell totally out was to remove the wallpaper, as well as it was just dated. I can tell you it's a cumbersome and tedious task, but once I did that, the home looked so much better. And this is pre-YouTube years. It really does make a huge difference. And so if you've got some dated wallpaper, remove it. If you're putting in wallpaper right now because it's the trendy thing to do, try to get one that will easily remove when that style goes away, and then it won't be as big of a deal. So just keep that in mind when you're elevating the look of your home. A fun little game that I played while we were at Leah's house was to count how many different kinds of just flooring were in her home. I think it was around 10 or 11 different types of flooring. So my recommendation for you in elevating the look of your home, try to keep it to maybe 3 different types of flooring, and make sure that in the areas where you can see like open expanses, that there's not so many different types of flooring. In her living room, dining room, kind of family room area where you had visual of, there was at least, let's see, I think like 5 or 6 that you could see from the front door. And that's just too many. It begins to look kind of like a flooring showroom. What I suggested to her and what I would suggest to you is try to use a continuous flooring type in all of that open expanses. Maybe switch it up in the bedrooms and do a carpet in the bedrooms, and then bathrooms you could have like a tile that was a little bit different. That's gonna really elevate the look of your home, update it, make it worth more money. I think that that is a really good rule of thumb. With any rule, there's always an exception to it. So, you know, you can push the envelope a little bit, but in addition to the 10 or 11 types of flooring, there was probably 3 or 4 different types of tile on the walls in addition to all of those flooring. So there was a lot going on in that home. And if that's going on in your home, there is things that we can do. And so we're gonna kind of lead into the next point, is like wall tile. In her bathrooms, the tile was actually in really good condition. It was just pink and blue and kind of dated. She really loves a mid-century modern style home. It is kind of fun to have that retro looking tile. The problem with hers is she had 2 pretty high contrast in the one bathroom, and what I would recommend is either going all white on all of the wall tile, or just picking one of the 2 colors, because I think it's a lot going on. Now, you don't actually have to rip it all out, and this is what I suggested to her. Don't rip it all out. There are professional companies out here, and you can DIY this. However, I think if you want the most long-lasting result, this would be one where I would recommend maybe looking into hiring a professional for, and that is reglazing your tile. And so what I had suggested to her is reglazing all of the shower surround and all of the tile on the wall into a white color. This will really neutralize the palette in there, and you could pick out a different accenting tile. In her case, I thought it might be fun because the floor tile was kind of an octagonal shape, and it was a little bit more on the subtle side, but it was kind of like a pink and white, but a very subtle, soft pink and white, kind of like two-toned effect. Is she could leave that and just kind of work with a subtle pink on the floor and have that kind of be true to the home, and then reglaze everything else. Again, if she wanted to maybe leave the pink as an accent and then reglaze all of the blue in that one particular bathroom, that could be an interesting option as well. And in her other bathroom, the same thing. But you could also do the flooring if your flooring was just like a too wild of a color. Say it's like green and brown, and that just didn't sing to you in a bathroom. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't love green for a bathroom. If you do green, you have to be very careful, especially if it's a place that you're doing your makeup, because it can cast a green tone on your skin. I've seen it done well a couple of times, but you have to be very, very careful when doing green in a bathroom. Same goes for yellow colors too. I think that you could do a contrasting color on the floor, and a lot of times they even have some speckled. Also, her tile was in really good condition. As long as there's no tiles loose, but it's kind of nasty looking, maybe it's got buildup or whatnot, and it's just kind of ugly. It was a little bit of a wild combination. It can take a nasty looking bathroom and turn it into an amazing looking bathroom. Just a short amount of time. And these reglazing of the tiles have been shown that they can last over 10 years if you have it done professionally. Now for a DIY one, I don't know the numbers on that. It buys you a decade to save up and maybe make some plans, or maybe it holds up a little bit longer. If it doesn't, maybe you can reglaze it. I don't know. It gives you some options in the meantime. I hope that that gives you some ideas of how you can elevate the look of your home, clean it up, and bring it into a very nice and updated feel. I touched on this topic a little bit in my last how to make your house look more expensive video, and that is adding any kind of built-ins. Well, in her case, she already had some built-ins and she had been considered maybe possibly ripping it out. And I was like, hold up, no, don't rip them out. You can make those look beautiful again. And I think that that was what she was kind of ultimately hoping for by just simply, like in her case, painting it out in a really nice quality cabinet paint. I think she had one in mind that she loved in a very nice, lovely white. You can do it in a moody color in this case too. I think I've seen that done really, really well. Picking a moody color and painting it out maybe like in a very rich black or something like that. That can really elevate the look of your home as well. They had some kind of poorly done arches that I would recommend her pulling out I think there was some wallpaper there on the header, and really instead of stopping it where it was, lifting it up and adding some crown molding and some other trims at the top of this unit and just bringing it into this century. So in her house, the baseboard trims were just very odd. Either that there wasn't any trim on the bottom or it was very small and tiny. It was just very, very different. And so one way to elevate the look of your home is by simply removing the baseboards and putting in something a little bit more substantial. And it doesn't have to be something super ornate. In fact, just doing some nice, large, beefy flat would look really, really good and elevate the look of your home. I think that it doesn't have to have a super detailed pattern, but I do think it needs to have a little bit of height and substance that really does elevate the look of your home. And then always, if you can get some sort of crown molding in, that updates yours. So in her home, she had a whole bunch of curtains that were just very, very dated. They were very 1980s, maybe a little bit into the 1990s. None of them were very cohesive. And so one of the things that I would suggest is removing those and replacing them with something with a little bit cleaner lines, a little bit more classic lines. And let's go with cleaner, less fussy curtains, and that should help elevate the look of your home. But you got to do it right. This next one, this is non-judgmental at all because I can almost tell you exactly how this went down. In her kitchen, which I think she's planning on totally gutting and starting anew, but I thought it was a good point to make for those of you who are wanting to elevate the look of your home and make sure that it looks money. That is making sure that all of the finishes on the appliances match. So in her house, there was, I think, a white stove, a black microwave, and a stainless refrigerator. And I know that there's a lot of people with that. And what usually happens is the stove probably went out and white appliances were all popular at that time. And so they got a new white stove. And then the fridge went out a few years later, and then stainless was the popular thing. So they got a stainless. So then you ended up with 3 different types of finishes of appliances. And that just does not work very well. So what I suggest is doing it all the same finish. And right now I would suggest stainless steel. So there's a lot of creative ways you could do this. I've seen on Facebook Marketplace a lot of people, at least in my area, who are selling like brand new appliances because they bought their home brand new and they decided to switch out the appliances to maybe upgrade them. And so you've got brand new appliances, never been used, for sale on Facebook, and you could go that route and save a ton of money. Now again, there are exceptions to all of these rules. For example, if you are really in a high-end price bracket, you can get a very custom stove, and that doesn't have to necessarily match everything else that's going on in the room. It can be a total little statement piece. It does get a little bit tricky when you get into like a higher end looking kitchen. There are a little ways you can kind of fudge that rule, but for the general population of us, most people, if you can keep them all in the same family finish, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same manufacturer, so you can have a Maytag and a KitchenAid. As long as the finishes are the same, I think you're okay. And the affordable way to do that is to maybe look at Facebook Marketplace or look for good sales and do it that way. In her home, there was like, I think 3 or 4 different types of doors. Now, ideally, you want to have all of the same kind of interior doors just for the consistency, and that will really elevate the look of your home. Instead, she kind of has a hodgepodge of doors. Again, there's exceptions to that rule. If you did like a special door on your pantry, you can get away with that. But for the most part, we are looking for consistency in the doors. And so if you can have them all be the same, that's what I'd recommend. At minimum, I would paint them all the same color so that you have at least consistency that way. But she also had some that were flat panel. And this is a pretty easy project that you can do. You can just take some trim. You don't even need like super fancy tools to do this. You can just take some simple, not so huge trim, and then take some miter shears and miter it out. And you could do 2 boxes, you could do 1 box, and you just nail it into place and then make sure that you can paint it out and it all matches. This is a way to elevate the look of, if you have flat panel doors, elevate the look of it with just a little bit of trim, and then you don't have to replace all the doors. And so all of you who have those very 1970s, 1980s flat panel doors, that's a really cool way to elevate it. Even if you have a mid-century modern style home, just pick the kind of trim and lay it out in a way that would match that mid-century modern. I still think adding trim to the doors, even in a mid-century modern style home, is the way to go to elevate the look of your home, and I hope that that helps some of you out. Now, on to our next one, which is just getting rid of the clutter in your home. Now, this is something that I am guilty of myself. Not only does this elevate the look of your home, but it will elevate your mood. It just creates room in your mind when your home is clutter-free. So for example, you walk right into my home and you look to the left right in the entryway, and there is this 3-tiered basket, in fact, that collects junk. So this is one of the projects that I just took on, is to go through that, get rid of what I'm not using, which honestly was a lot of it in there. Let's be honest. It's just been sitting there, taking up space, not elevating my home. And there's just so many corners. And this will do so much to improve not only the feel of your home. When a home is clean, clutter-free, and organized, it just simply feels more expensive. Like I said, I am devaluing my home by keeping that clutter, because for me it's all about like, oh, I might use that, I might have value in it, but you know what is more valuable? Just the feeling of cleanliness and the elevation of the home. And so that is going to be all of our motivating factors. Here on my channel, I am constantly looking for ways to save money and do it yourself. We DIY so much to save money, but there are a few areas that I am willing to invest. One is quality bedding. Not only does this elevate the look of your home, but this elevates your sleeping. And sleep is such a precious commodity these days that anything we can do to elevate the feeling of sleep and luxury in your bed, it will make you feel more rested, more recharge your batteries. And a beautiful bedroom is just important, but luxury, quality linens and bedding is just a must. And so our next one, which is elevating your bathroom mirrors. But one of the things that we are going to be doing is removing the builder grade mirror. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. You could just simply frame out your builder grade mirror with some trim or something to elevate the look of that. That is certainly an easy option that doesn't require you to remove those oftentimes very big and bulky pieces. Also, another idea that I had seen people do is separate your big giant builder grade mirror with some cabinetry. We actually got a really cool idea for this wall with a center console, new light fixtures, some wood trim behind here. So it's actually got a lot of moving components. I also think that there are ways that you can upgrade and elevate builder grade cabinets. Now, this could be as simple as something that I've done in the past on my channel, and that is doing a very deep clean on your kitchen cabinets or your bathroom cabinets and then polishing them. You will be surprised that it will just lift and elevate them to look brand new, look so much more high end, and stop looking so tired. And then switching out, you know, hardware is obviously something that is also a good thing to do to elevate the look of builder grade cabinets. I've also done projects here on my channel where I have just added some extra embellishment to the existing builder grade cabinets by adding like some simple slats horizontally on the cabinet doors and on the side, adding a little bit of embellishment and painting them out. Totally transformed the look in one of my bathroom makeovers. So that is something you can consider. I came up with this incredible hack to do like a full overlay refacing of your cabinet doors. It was surprisingly simple. You do need a few power tools, but the amount of money that you can save doing projects like this, it will pay for those power tools, I promise. And you get such an immense satisfaction from doing something like this. Now, this does not require any fancy carpentry skills. You would have never known that they were not custom made because you open them up, close them, no way to tell that they are not custom made the traditional way, but I came up with a really great hack for that. So one of the ways to elevate your home, make it look more expensive, is to elevate the look of your cabinetry, especially if it is builder grade and there are things you can do, and not all of them require any fancy experience or tools. So I hope that helps some of you. I must be on a bathroom kick because the next point also deals with the bathroom. But let's just say you can't switch out some of the things that we've talked about. You can still elevate the look of your bathroom. You can embellish it with little projects like a bathtub tray, which is something that we've done on this channel as well, where a simple $12 tray with some very luxurious towels, you can put that on your bathroom tray, roll them up really nice and put them on a shelf. If you do fluffy towels, little spa elements like bath bombs and brushes and things that give it a spa-like feel, a candle, some tulips, some just extra little frivolities, as I like to call it, that will really elevate the look of your bathroom and make it feel more expensive. And you don't necessarily have to do a huge remodel. You could simply switch out a rug, put in just all of those fine little details that will elevate it and make it feel more expensive, some pretty perfume bottles, the whole gamut, and you don't have to necessarily do construction projects. So I hope that helps some of you. Not only will this make a good first impression, but upgrading your entry area will really elevate the look of your home. It's the first thing that people see, the first thing they experience, so you do want to give it a little bit of attention. So some of the projects that you can do is painting the exterior of your door and also painting the interior. I've done both of those, and that really makes it pack a punch and pop, and then also just adding some simple decor. Additionally, you can take a dated or builder grade railing and just elevate it by wrapping the newel post in some flat trim. These are straight cuts where you can simply just wrap this newel post in all kinds of trim, layering it up one step at a time with straight cuts, and you can really elevate the look of that newel post, taking it from builder grade to something that feels more high-end and it doesn't cost a lot of money. Then you want to caulk and paint and putty and make it look really nice, but that simple switch can elevate the look of your entry. So there's things like that, like changing out a light fixture here and there. And the one thing that I want to reiterate to you in these ideas is that you don't have to do it all at once. Don't go into debt to do this. Bite it off little by little, project by project, one by one. I promise you, you will get there eventually. You can really elevate the look of your home by adding layers and textures with your window treatments and switching out some that are maybe more dated. If you have mini blinds, maybe remove those and put some Roman shades in. Maybe you add some sheers and some drapery like I've done behind me. What I will say is to try to keep it not in a super busy pattern. I have been guilty of this, and I will tell you, if you do something a little crazy with your curtains, you do get tired of it quicker. So if you decide to invest in window treatments, try to do it like you would of furniture and do something a little bit more on the neutral side. Even if it is a solid color or rich color, you could go bold. Just keep it like not a busy, wild pattern, because if you want to switch out the look of your room, you're kind of married to that. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your window treatments. Look at ways to make it more timeless. That's another thing that I'm talking about on my channel a lot, because you don't want to spend a lot of money on window treatments for it to be a fad and go out of style and you get tired of the pattern. I've totally learned that the hard way. So try to go with things that are a little bit more classic and timeless in nature and elevate your window treatments. Okay, so it's a really good time of year to talk about creating awesome outdoor spaces. Now, I did this a couple of years ago. I live in Florida, so we really do have the ability to have an indoor-outdoor lifestyle. Now, I'm gonna preface that sometimes I have to invade that outdoor space and build projects just because I do not have a workshop. It's the bane of my existence, but I still do have this beautiful and tremendous outdoor space that we really transformed a few years ago that I absolutely love. And out there, I put furniture that was meant for outdoors, but still looks like it could have like an indoor type of feel. It does have like the wicker rattan, but it has upholstered cushions and pillows and blankets. And I made sure that it had a coffee table and just felt very inviting and like an extension of my home. Maybe you don't have a very large space to work with, but you can just bring in little small elements, maybe a small chair and a little small table. Just look for ways to extend the real estate or the room in your home by extending it outdoors, particularly this time of year when it's beautiful and sunny at most places. Really take advantage of that. The fresh air is also nice, and the front porch area, just elevate it in a way that you can by small, simple touches. Like I mentioned before, maybe just painting out your front door and really bringing some of that outdoors in. And so I hope that gets your wheels spinning. Okay, one thing that really elevates the look of any room is big fluffy pillows. Flat pillows kind of fall flat, if you will. So they don't pack a punch. They don't look very nice. They look tired and dated. That might even be if you have a new pillow that's just the wrong size. The way to get a nice fluffy pillow is just make sure, and you probably heard this before, buying a pillow that's a little too large for the actual pillow covering. So like if you had like a 18 by 18 pillow cover, you'd want to get like a 20 by 20 pillow insert, because if you got the 18 by 18 one, it will be a little bit more flat. It won't look very full and fluffy and luxurious. I still like the karate chop. Some people don't like that look. I love the karate chop in the pillow, so to each his own. Fluffy pillows are a way that elevates your home. Flat ones, just like I said, fall flat and just don't look as nice, in my humble opinion. Okay, I just wanted to give you another idea that doesn't require maybe doing something as big as adding trim or switching out a light fixture, or, you know, some kind of construction. I'm always about what can we do that doesn't do that. That can be getting candles or fresh flowers, or if you kill flowers like me, faux flowers that look really, really nice. And those tend tend to be more in whites. If you're using faux flowers, I found that faux white flowers work really, really nice, as some shades of green as well. But the faux flowers really have come a long way, so I know that that is a little bit taboo, and that might be triggering to some interior designers, but if you kill plants like me, faux plants are better than nothing. That's just my thought. And so I think it brings life to a room, makes it feel more expensive, but it's all the little touches, just adding high quality linens, high quality blankets, high quality accessories. I have a new obsession, and it is cut crystal. I have just been so attracted to this lately. I feel like it looks so elevated, so luxurious, and here's a little secret for you. You can find it at a very, very affordable price. I got a set of these. You can see it still has the sticker on it from Home Goods, a set of 6 for about $14. Super, super affordable. That's probably about what I paid for this simple everyday glass here. And look how much more luxurious this cut crystal glass one looks in comparison. It's such a no-brainer. You can find a ton of this stuff at the thrift store for pennies on the dollar, and it's beautiful. You can find candy dishes and vases and platters and all of that cut crystal, just beautiful, very high-end looking, very luxurious at thrift store prices. You cannot beat that. Also, I bought a couple of pieces off of Amazon, like a bedside craft that was cut crystal that I am absolutely loving, and I found that on Amazon for affordable price. So I don't know if you're with me. You'll have to let me know if you love the cut crystal too, if you think that that is just such a more elevated and nicer look than this. Redonate this to the thrift store, or keep it for those occasions when you're not feeling quite as fancy, and get this for a more elevated and luxurious look. I think you're gonna love it. So let's get right into our next one, which is something that I have sworn over and over and over again I would never do, but it's because the value of it is so good and it just works. That is learning how to slip cover your furniture. Sewing is just such a good skill to have in your back pocket when it comes to home decor, because you can really save a ton of money and elevate your home, and it's not as hard as you think it would be to do. So I've done a couple of small slip covering and upholstery projects here on the channel. So you have a tired looking sofa, you hate the fabric, it's worn out, it's just not attractive. It's just not really doing anything for your home. And something that you can do is create a slipcover or reupholster these pieces. You can also have it done at an upholsterer, but I will tell you, if you can learn how to do some basic sewing, slip covering your own furniture will save you a fortune, an absolute fortune. It will take you about a week or so to reupholster a sofa if you're an experienced seamstress, and that's for a major project, but you can start with something small. Recover your dining room seats. That could be a whole point in and of itself, or a small chair. Start small, build the skills, and then build into something big like a sofa. Recovering your furniture will elevate your home, make it feel more expensive, and just nicer. I hope you give it a go, get brave, just do it. Now, while we're on the topic of repurposing and upcycling things, we do a lot of that on this channel. We go and do our thrift flips. We have taken kind of a beat up china cabinet, given it new life, painted it on the inside and out. We've even repurposed things like an exterior pillar, cutting it into some very large scale candlesticks that kind of emulate something you would see in a higher end design store, and they're all very, very affordable prices. In a recent episode, we took a crafting cart that I had in my craft room and made a top for it and turned it into a grill cart with some hooks and some handles and things like that. So if you can just think outside of the box, repurpose, upcycle, and elevate. You can even do pieces that are existing in your own home that are tired and just need a little little love with a little bit of elbow grease, a little creativity, maybe some paint or something like that, and you can elevate those pieces that you already own even, or items that you have found in a thrift store, Facebook Marketplace, all of those, and all of those are very, very budget friendly. One thing about my home when I bought it is all of the lighting was very builder grade. So I went about replacing them one by one. It's amazing what you can find on Amazon, even at the Home Depot, affordable light fixtures that really elevate your space. I've even made over existing light. My first dining room one, I did end up ultimately switching it out, but I still gave the original one a mini makeover to elevate it in the meantime. I've even made over a bathroom light fixture in my home, gave it new life, but you can do this one by one, or you can make over your existing stuff and elevate it, make it look more expensive, and you can do that for more affordable prices than you might think. Another suggestion I have to elevate your home is switch out some of your window treatments. Maybe you have some that are from the 1990s and are looking a little bit tired. Switching those out for something a little bit more elevated can be more cost effective than you might think. I found beautiful treatments at Home Goods, IKEA, and on Amazon, and in very nice materials such as linens and velvets and just really elevated things. Trying to make the window treatments and treating them as a larger fixture item, where I suggest doing something a little bit more subdued so that you don't get tired of a busy pattern quicker. I've learned this the hard way. So I would just suggest going with something a little bit more refined, a little bit more elegant. I even switched out some blinds recently in my bathroom to some Roman shades, and it was just such a nicer look, and it didn't cost very much at all. So take a look at your window treatments, the ones that might be bringing down your look a little bit, and look for something a little bit more elevated, and you don't have to break the bank to do it. When making your home look more expensive, I want you to ask yourself this question on everyday items. Is there a way that I can elevate the look of this to look a little bit nicer? For example, a soap pump, right? A lot of times it would be simple to just put a dial soap out and just pump it right out of the bottle. But switching it out into a nicer pump will just elevate the look of your home, and it's in the simple details sometimes where you can really do some elevating. Soap pumps you can find very affordably at IKEA and Amazon and Home Goods. Again, all of those same stores. You can really find nice looks for an affordable price, and you can reuse it over and over and over again. So it's a good investment, and it really elevates the look of your home. So look at the things that you are using on a daily basis and ask yourself, is there a way that I can elevate this, make it feel like a little thought has gone into it, and all of those small additions will really elevate the look of your home, and that's what we're going for. Okay, this next one, I am going to say that I am guilty of this on and off. And that is really paying attention to the curb appeal of your home to make it look more expensive. Sometimes we get busy and we don't spend the time outside to elevate our homes, and that's switching out the mulch, making sure there's not weeds everywhere, that garbage gets picked up, that gets dropped or blown around in your yard, and just really giving the exterior of your home a little bit of love too. Like I said, it kind of goes through ebbs and flows. We get busy, you know, I have kids, and it just feels hard. But we cheapen the look of our home by not giving our exterior even a little love. Maybe that's just as simple as switching out and putting a fresh doormat down, and that will make it feel a little bit more loved and thought out and a little bit more expensive. Might be repainting a front door. It might be replacing your dead plants that you've killed. I'm not guilty of this at all. Just kidding. I'm the worst at keeping things in a pot alive. I've talked about that heavily on my channel, but just give your exterior a little extra love and your home will thank you for it, and it will feel a little bit more expensive. Even if you are in a very tiny little starter home, just a little extra love will elevate the look of it and it will feel more homey. And so, do your cabinets need a little bit of love? Are they pulling down the look of your home? Well, I have done several projects on this channel and they vary in degree of difficulties. It could be something as simple as painting or adding a little decorative trim or embellishment to the doors. It could be as elaborate as building a cabinet door, which I just did a cabinet hack to make it as simple as possible and attainable for everyone. Or it could even be as simple as just doing a deep clean on your cabinets, which I've done in my kitchen. My cabinets were looking so tired, drab, dirty, and just, oh, I was like, they need painted. But I did a very thorough cleaning and it made them look brand new again. And so I'll link that video as well, but just take a look at your cabinetry, see what you can do with it, whether that is putting on a new coat of polyurethane or painting it or adding trim or refacing your cabinetry. There is a way to elevate your home, make it look more expensive, and that can vary in degrees depending on what you have going on. I would suggest maybe consider looking at what you can do to elevate your countertops. And that could mean ripping them out and putting in something as nice as a stone or a quartz or a granite type finish on them, if that makes sense for your budget and what you have going on in your life. Or maybe it's even finding some of the more affordable options that have really improved over time. Several years ago, prior to doing YouTube, I had a little townhouse, and while it would have been nice to put in a granite countertop, it wasn't in our budget at the time, and I wanted to elevate my home and make it look more expensive. So what I did is I took some Carrara marble looking Formica, right? They've really improved the look of it, and I did kind of a square edge that folded over the top. It didn't have the seam, but it just kind of rolled over that squared edge. Did it without the backsplash and put that in, and then I put in a tiled backsplash, and it looked so much better, of course, than I did new cabinet door fronts and painted and things like that. But look at the neighborhood that you're in. Also take into consideration your budget, your funds. Don't go into debt for things like this. Save up for it in advance and find the best deal you can. And then sometimes you just live with what you've got. For example, in my kitchen, I've got some Venetian gold granite. It is not exactly what I would have picked out, but I ended up finding a backsplash that I loved and put that in, and it really elevated the look of the Venetian granite. And don't get me wrong, the Venetian granite is nice, it's beautiful, it's just not what I personally love, but it's a nice finish, and so I worked with it. So take a look at your situation, elevate what works for you and your budget, whether that's getting more of an elevated Formica type product or going with a stone type finish. Just work within your budget. Now, I do have to throw in one caveat, and that's because I get asked about this a lot. But I have painted countertops in the past. There's an ancient video on this channel. I don't know if it's active or not. But what I will tell you is this stuff is a temporary fix. I do not endorse any painted countertop finishes. They will not stand the test of time. They do not hold up. They might buy you a little extra time, maybe a year or two, but before you know it, they look terrible. And so I do not recommend painting your countertops. Now, having said that, I have not tried the new epoxy ones. Maybe it's something that I would consider, but since I have been asked that and we're talking about countertops, I just thought I would give my 2 cents on that. Avoid the painting unless you know for a fact that it's just a temporary fix. That's my 2 cents. Take that for what it's worth. The next thing to make your home look more expensive is to maybe replace some of your outdated flooring. Now, this may seem like an obvious thing, but you would be surprised. And then I also want you to keep in mind what makes sense for your neighborhood, what makes sense for your budget, because you don't want to go overboard, especially if it's a home that you do not plan on living in the rest of your life. Maybe putting Italian marble in your starter home, something very bougie and expensive, does not make sense, but maybe finding a very nice laminate hardwood floor does make sense, and it would elevate the look of your home. So just take into consideration maybe the price range of your home when you're selecting those finishes. Select something that's appropriate, or if you can find like a heck of a deal on something, I'm all for going to that. I just don't want you to go blow a whole bunch of money on something that you won't ever get back. Now, if this is your forever home, you're gonna live in it forever, get what you want and enjoy it and love it. The overall thing is pick things that look timeless, that are not trendy, and when you invest in it, you will have very little regret. And I hope that helps you when you are making that very big purchase. You are either going to love or hate, I think. Maybe some of you will be in the middle ground, but I think that there will be some strong feelings about this. I happen to be in the camp of loving it, and that is a black and either a white or a gray marble checkerboard on a diagonal flooring. That was kind of a mouthful. This to me looks so expensive, so elegant, and some of you might be asking, well, is this really timeless? Well, this look has been around for a very long time, and maybe it ebbs and flows in and out of style, as all things do, but this one I really truly believe will stand the test of time. This looks really great in entryways. It also looks really nice in kitchens. It's a bit of a strong statement, so I would have probably avoid it in other areas because I think it's meant to make an impact, and I would love to try this out sometime. I think it looks super, super elegant. I've even seen versions of this done outside with blacks and taupes or even gray on gray. This kind of tone on tone on a diagonal looks really excellent in outdoor areas as well. I think it looks so expensive, so luxurious. It's beautiful, but it really is an elegant and high-end look when done right. When using marble, I think it's very elegant and looks really, really nice. My next idea is a brass gallery railing. Whenever I see this look, what it really says to me is I've thought about the details. It looks very finished, very polished, and it's a little bit of extra jewelry on the room on a shelf. I love this look. I think it's super elegant. I've seen it done mostly in kitchens and dining rooms. It's usually done in those spaces, but it can be done probably pretty much anywhere. I think it would look elegant in a bathroom. It's just a little bit of extra something that elevates the room, makes it look more expensive. Do you know what else is beautiful? Is granite. And there's a couple of ideas that I have that deal with granite marble, like a stone material for your kitchens and baths. And the first one is a ledge. I think it looks so high-end and finished to add a little ledge on your backsplash. You can do this in the bathroom. I just did this in my bathroom. I added a little ledge. I can put my jewelry on it, and it's been really helpful, like when I'm washing my hands and I want it out of the way and I don't want to accidentally knock it in the sink. You could put perfumes on it, but in the kitchen you can make them more substantial and put some spices or whatnot, and it just looks so finished and beautiful. I love that look. I think it looks so luxurious, so high-end, and it's just a little extra detail. And I'm thinking in the whole scheme of things, like if you're putting in new countertops, this wouldn't be all that expensive to add because a lot of times you have excess granite and marble that you're getting anyway, so why not use it? If you have granite and marble already, maybe it's something that you could add in somehow. It's a little hard to match. Like if you went into my bathroom, it's not exact, even though it's the same kind of granite. It's because each stone is different, but there are some that are a little easier to match than others. Like a white Carrara marble, you might be able to match that up a little bit easier. Black Galaxy would be one that would match up a little easier. So you could maybe add it to your existing one if you're very, very choosy, and then maybe you can go get a little tiny sample of something and do it that way. I think it looks really nice. Another thing that I've been seeing trending a little bit lately, but even though it's trending now, I really see this as a design element that would really stand the test of time, and this has to do with the stone, the granite, the quartz, and all of that. And that is a decorative scrolled edge on the backsplash. So they take the granite up the back of the wall, and then they do like a little decorative scallop on it. And maybe they go up a little bit higher behind the stove or in other areas, and just a little bit of detailing makes all the difference. Now, I do think that this one would run you a little bit more. I haven't price shopped it out. I'm just thinking that that extra detailing would be a little bit of a splurge, but it's beautiful. I do see this as being something that will be timeless. Like everything kind of ebbs and flows a little bit, but there are some things that kind of mostly steady in the middle, right? And I do think that this is something that we will see around. I think it's beautiful. I love it. I think it elevates the home. This next tip is kind of like a do and a don't type of tip. And the do is make sure your paint job looks really, really good, really pristine, and don't have a really crappy paint job. And so what am I talking about and why am I talking about this? Many of you may or may not know that I used to practice real estate full time. I'm licensed in 3 states. I still have a real estate license here in the state of Florida. I'm not practicing. One thing I noticed in touring a lot of homes is if the paint job was done really, really bad, this will make the difference in a home selling and not selling, and for how much. My parents bought a home in New Hampshire several years ago, and the paint job was terrible. Terrible. The first thing that they went in and did is repaint the entire thing, and it made all of the difference. They sold it a few years later and made a huge profit. And I'm not saying that it was entirely due to the paint job. They did some other things as well. That was probably one of the biggest contributing factors. It was done so poorly. I think some of it might have even just been the primer and they didn't do anything else beyond the primer. But this makes an impact and says to people, your home is expensive, your home is not. So here's a couple of tips. Splurge on the good paint. If you go with the cheap stuff, you will end up using more product. It will take you way more time. You'll get way more frustrated. Spending a little bit more on good quality paint will really pay you dividends. The good quality paint will last way longer, which means you won't have to repaint as soon. And so I really do think in the long run, good quality paint is the way to go. It will last longer, it will look better, it will scrub better. There's just so many things. The other thing is you don't want the paint to run, so make sure you're not putting way too much paint on. It's easier to go put on a little bit more paint than too much. Make sure you can't see the undercolor through your paint job. If you can see stroke marks, if you can see other color coming through the paint, you need more paint on the walls. And other things is like maybe you're painting and you accidentally get some on the ceiling. That has happened to me so many times. Keep a saturated rag right along with you. Most times if you catch it right away, you can get it right off and you don't have to go back in. If you get it on the ceiling, then go in and touch up paint with a ceiling paint. If you get it outside the lines, then you can go in with a fine paintbrush and fix that. It really does make all the difference in doing a good paint job on whether your home looks expensive, quality, or it looks cheap. So make sure that you don't overlook that. Anyways, I hope that that helps you. Just really buy good paint. It's so, like, in the whole scheme of things, paint is the most affordable thing you can do to make a huge difference in a space. So splurge on the good paint, do a good job, and it will pay you dividends. I'm just gonna say up front on this next one that I am totally guilty of not doing this, and I'm trying to do better. So I am just as guilty. If you want to make your home look more expensive, try to go with good quality paintings, real paintings, and you can find those at estate sales, thrift stores. I have a lot of faux ones that I think look really, really good. And so if you are not at the point budget-wise where you can splurge on real paintings, I don't know if I can. I mean, real paintings can get pricey unless you get a good find at a thrift store or an estate sale like I just mentioned. So just do the best you can with your budget. Another option, if real paintings are out of your reach right now, is to go onto Etsy or Lisa Birmingham's new website. She just launched a new website that has artwork on it. If you go to Etsy, you can download digital prints there and then have them printed out at a Photoshop, and I've done that a lot, and they look really, really nice. And I think that going bigger is nice, and having different various sizes is good if you're gonna do some sort of collage. I think what I would tell you to focus in on is classic looking prints that look beautiful and will stand the test of time, and there you go. Like I said, I am not really doing this completely on my end, so do the best you can. That's what I'm doing. Is your bathroom looking a little drab? One thing that you could do to dress it up a little bit is elevating the hardware in your bathroom. Going from something that's a little bit more builder grade to something that says, hey, I've arrived a little bit. And you can maybe save up for it and do it a little at a time, because I know everybody's on a different budget. There's actually a lot of really designer looking things on Amazon for great prices. I know that I found a lot of stuff there. They're off brand, but they're still very elevated and beautiful looking. Now, I have switched out some of my own faucets, but this is something that you could easily hire a handyman to come and do. You don't necessarily need to hire a plumber to come switch out your hardware, but I would try to find a reputable handyman, not just anybody, that has good referrals and good reviews, and you can really find out a lot of that information on Google these days and getting good referrals from other people. You can save a little bit of money going the handyman route versus getting an actual plumber in, but maybe your situation would need a licensed plumber, and that's if things are corroded and things need to be replaced and you know it because maybe you can tell. So just keep that in mind. But elevating your hardware in your bathroom is a way to elevate your home and make it look more expensive, and you can find ways to do that on a budget. A couple of years ago, my front door was looking really trashed. The paint on it had bubbled. It looked awful. It did not say, I'm expensive. It said, run away. Try to find a way to make your front door make a statement. In my case, I ended up switching it out just because I didn't love the door enough to strip off the paint, make it look good. I really wanted to elevate the look of my front door anyways, so I just took the opportunity to switch it out. I still kept it the same color that it was before, but I just got something that was a little bit dressier. Front doors really make a statement. So what statement is your front door making right now? Go out and look at it. Maybe it just needs a coat of paint. Maybe it needs some new hardware, or maybe you do need to elevate your front door if you can afford that. So do what's within your budget. Maybe it's just a good scrub down. Maybe that's all it needs. Maybe it needs a wreath or a little bit of sprucing up, or maybe you need to switch it out like I did. So evaluate your front door, see what kind of statement it's making, and make it say wow. Okay, I'm gonna preface up front that I'm not really doing this at all. But I have intentions to in my next home. That's not an announcement. I'm not going anywhere yet. But, you know, maybe one day. I think it does elevate your home when you invest in more smart features. And some of the things that I'm hoping to do in my next house is smart thermostats, monitoring, things like that. I do have, you know, a smart doorbell, which has been really great. I love being able to see things coming and going. In fact, one time I even caught somebody running right into our lamppost out front, and then he drove away, and I had to submit that to the police. So it was like functional as well as, you know, for my benefit to know who's coming and going from my home. But in addition to that, I would also love to do some smart things, the thermostat, so I can control that from my phone away from home. So like I'm not hopefully spending as much money on heating and cooling because I can control it when I'm away, and then when I'm coming home a little bit before, maybe they'll lower the temperature. So there's some functionality as well as elevating your home by doing smart technology. Another thing I'd really like to do is remote operated like shades that you can like from either your phone or button, open and close them, maybe in the morning to try to get you going out of bed. You can raise them, and when you want some sleep and privacy, and blackout shades when you're sleeping. So those are just a couple of little ideas that maybe I'll go into a little bit more, but those are things that I'm hoping to do in my next house. Probably not here. There's too many other projects on the table for that right now, but I think that I would prioritize that in my next house. So I don't know if that gets your wheel spinning it or not, but I do think it makes your home look more expensive, but it can save you a ton of money. So it makes it look more expensive, but hopefully saves you money in the end. So I hope that helps some of you out. So I have a crazy creative brain, and I find value in like everything. I see the potential in things, and I can be a little bit of a clutter bug. but I'm trying to improve that. So I do think it makes a home look more expensive when it's clean and organized. And I touched on that in a previous one of these episodes, but going beyond that, just, you know, beyond cleaning and getting rid of the clutter and all of that, I think it looks so nice and elegant when you have really pretty baskets. When you open up a pantry and the containers match and everything has a place and it has beautiful baskets and containers, that looks so expensive and beautiful to me. I really admire and appreciate that. One of the most affordable places that I have found really nice containers and baskets at is at places like Home Goods and Ross. You can really find them for affordable deals there. Even Dollar Tree items look really nice and luxurious if you do them right. And so please empathize with me. I am not there yet. I have been there at points in my life. I think it is ebbs and flows. In times of life, I've been super organized. I've been that container girl. I think it's a reflection of what's going on in your life. If things are a little crazy like they've been for me, launching a product line, I've just not been there. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you got a few ideas of your own. If you did enjoy this episode, here's another one that I think you'll love as well. And to all of my DIY goddesses out there, you are more powerful than you know. We'll see you next time. Bye.